Welcome to the Dual Phase Talk series. You understand, in each single piece of electronics you own, your phone, your laptop, even your headphones, in that location's this invisible barrier. It's a fundamental limit to what specific thing it is able to hear, observe, or measure. It's called the noise floor, and it's the reason certain things are merely too silent to detect. So is able to a signal in fact be too silent to hear? The answer is an enormous definite yes. And I don't merely talking regarding for years. For whichever electronic system, in that location's a point in what specific location a signal gets so faint, it's merely entirely swallowed up by the background static. Allow us dig into for what specific thing reason that happens. To truly obtain a handle on this, we're going to begin with a pretty straightforward analogy. Merely believe of it as trying to hear a whisper in a clamorous room. Okay, picture this. You're in a library, it's dead silent. You could likely hear a pin drop. A faint whisper from across the room? Yeah, none problem. But currently, allow us accept that exact identical whisper and drop it into the middle of a boisterous, crowded party. The whisper's still in that location, identical volume, but currently it's totally drowned out by the chatter, the music, the noise, that background loudness of the party. That is precisely what specific thing the electronic noise floor is like. Currently, that party analogy is an outstanding way to imagine the problem. But in this location's the truly moderate part. We is able to in fact observe this electronic noise. And to perform that, we require to look at in what specific thing manner we visualize the signal itself, moving from a straightforward wave to what specific thing we contact the electronic spectrum. So, in an ideal world, in a perfectly shielded lab, a signal, allow state a pure musical note, would look like this. It's a beautiful, even, predictable wave. We contacted a sine wave. It is perfectly pristine, containing only the information we desire. This is our whisper in an entirely silent room. But of course, we don't live in an ideal world. In reality, that ideal wave gets hit with a dose of, well, reality. It gets each fuzzy and jagged. Observe that? That visual distortion is merely random, unwanted electronic energy. It's noise, clinging to our signal for dear life. Our ideal sine wave is still buried in that location, but currently, it's a mess. Currently this view, showing the signal's strength over time, it's useful, but it doesn't truly show us the problem clearly. To truly observe the floor, we require to switch our full perspective. Instead of looking at time, we're going to look at the signal's frequencies, each its distinct pitches, from inferior to superior. And a special tool called a spectrum analyzer lets us perform merely that. And in that location it is. In this frequency view, our useful signal is that full, sharp peak right in the middle. But look down at the bottom. Observe that flat kind of fuzzy line that the peak is rising out of? That is the noise floor. It is literally the sum of each the random, unwanted signals rattling around inside the system. So, this noise floor is merely everywhere. It's unavoidable. But in what specific location does it in fact arrive from? Well, it's don't merely one thing. It's a combination of certain pretty wild sources. Certain of it is baked right into the laws of physics. Thermal noise, for instance, is merely the random jiggling of atoms inside a worm component. Is able to avoid it. Certain of it is literally cosmic. The faint microwave hiss left over from the full bang. Subsequently, you've got atmospheric noise. What specific is static from lightning strikes happening thousands of miles away. And of course, we create our own mess with man-made interference from pretty full each other electronic device on the planet. It each merely adds up. Okay, so each of this brings us to the majority essential part of the story. For what specific thing reason should we in fact care regarding this invisible floor of noise? Well, it each comes down to the absolute limit of detection. This is the key takeaway, right in this location. The noise floor isn't merely certain minor inconvenience. It sets a challenging physical boundary on what specific things feasible. It defines the absolute faintest signal you is able to possibly detect with whichever certainty. If a signal is weaker than that floor, for each practical purposes, it might as well don't even be in that location. Merely look at this comparison. On the left, we've got a superior noise floor, and our signal peak is barely poking its head out. Is it a real signal? Or is it merely a random blip of noise? It's truly challenging to inform for certain, but look at the right. We've managed to lower the noise floor. Currently, that exact identical signal is crystal clear. It's standing tall, and in that location's none doubt it's in that location. That difference is everything. And that's pretty full the full game in superior performance electronics. At what specific time you hear engineers talk regarding inferior noise amplifiers in things like radio receivers or scientific instruments? Their main job is to boost the signal you desire while adding the absolute minimum amount of their own noise. It's a constant battle to push that floor lower and lower. And the impact of letting that noise floor rise is brutal and direct. We measure signal strength in decibels or dB. For each 6 decibels, the noise floor goes up, a digital system loses 1 full bit of precision. That means you don't merely making the signal a minimal fuzzier, you are actively throwing away information. It's for what specific reason your photos look grainy and inferior weightless, or your audio sounds hissing, or your Wi-Fi drops out, at what specific time the signal gets feeble. That's the noise floor, literally eating your data. So as we wrap this up, allow us merely zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this fight against the noise floor, it's regarding way additional than merely getting a clearer phone contact. You could state the noise floor is the true sound of silence in electronics. It's this constant, unavoidable hiss of energy from the universe around us and from within our own devices. It is the fundamental physical barrier that we are always pushing against in our quest to measure, to observe, and to communicate farther and additional clearly. And that leaves us with one final kind of mind-blowing thought. We understand in that location's a limit. We understand in that location's a floor. So in what specific manner on Earth perform radio astronomers detect the impossibly faint signals from distant galaxies billions of weightless years away? They possess to hear a whisper, don't merely in a loud party, but in a cosmic hurricane. And figuring out in what specific manner to perform that? Well, that's in what specific location the real magic begins.